country is incredibly powerful, incredibly influential, and when we campaign, we really have an impact. I mean, we built the industrial laws in this country. We built the working conditions, you know, so the things that people today take for granted are the work of this movement. And we didn't win those things easily. We didn't win super or 4 weeks leave or sick leave or any of those things. We didn't just go to the bosses and ask for it and they said, sure, we'll do that, right? We had to fight for it and we had to campaign for it, but we did that and we won it. So, you know, sometimes it might feel like, oh, well, changing the rules is cheap because that's really, you know, they're never going to agree to that. But, you know, I think they absolutely will. And we've seen it time and time again that when the union movement unites, where we campaign and where we fight, we're able to have an enormous impact. Now we've got to change the federal government, it's clear, if we're to have any hope at all of changing the rules. While they're there, they're legislating as fast as they can to make it harder and harder for working people, make no mistake. But we've also got a campaign to make sure that the government that comes after them fixes the problem. And I think we all understand that it's not as simple as just changing the government, that we need to keep the pressure on. What we need is fundamental change, and I think I think the determination to win that's building. I think it's up to us to do it, but we need to bring many more people with us. And if I leave you with one challenge tonight, that's probably it. To make sure you talk to your work colleagues, your family, all the rest of it. We need people to join the union, we need them to get mobilised, and we need to really start to campaign hard. Not just up to the federal election, but beyond that. And I think if we do that, we'll win this. And I think it's so important because if we don't, it's not hard to imagine where things will end up in the next 50 years on the current trajectory. And I don't want to be like that. I don't want Australia to be like that. And I don't want that to be the kind of place my kids are working in. Thanks.
I think Meredith made a really important point there at the end, that really the gains of workers in this country have come because of the union movement. It has never come out of a conciliation arbitration system. Really our interests and the interests of employers are different, and I think that's a good place to start, is in recognising that. And then we see the importance of having a strong union movement, because it's the union movement that delivers for workers in this country. I'd like to now introduce our second speaker, Melanie Booth. Melanie is an organiser with the CPSU PSU and has been up to her armpits in bargaining for the last 3 or 4 years. As Meredith said, the public sector have been having a very hard time. John Lloyd, who heads up the Australian Public Service Commission, actually believes that public servants have no right to be in a union, and I think if he ever gets his way, that he will outlaw public sector workers from joining unions. Anyway, I'll hand over to Melanie now. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Is that on? No. I think it is. Yeah. Hello? Yeah. All right. It's always hard being a second speaker because Meredith's covered such a lot of the overall themes of change the rules. I do have a slightly different tack, so I hope you'll bear with me. There's a little bit of overlap, so good luck. Firstly I'd like to say thanks to Elizabeth and Vinnie for inviting me here to speak tonight, and I'd also like to acknowledge that we meet on Noongar land, and I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. As Elizabeth said, I'm an organiser with the CPSU. I've been organising in the public sector, both state and federal, since 1984. Mostly federal. I started in a joint union industrial democracy project in the then State Energy Commission, and it's been downhill from there ever since. Industrial democracy, do you remember that? The Swedish model, for those of you sort of older than about 40. So that involved looking at various models of industrial organisation, countries around the world, Germany, Sweden, Finland, America. And there were some really great breakthroughs in trying to get unions to speak to each other and about democratising the workplace. Then PICO rules happened, and we've been literally trying to keep what we've had ever since. So, and those have sort of my age-ish will remember the ramping up of the neoliberal ideology in the form of privatisation of pretty much everything public, casualisation of work, the idea that the market rules. Reagan, Thatcher, Bush, Blair, Stephen Harper, Howard, Keating, Rudd, Gillard, Abbott and now Turnbull all pretty much drank that Kool-Aid. And I can tell you on behalf of Elizabeth, Vinnie, me, Meredith and many others around, we did oppose them. We did oppose them. Unionists, activists, academics and a lot of others could see where it would lead and could also forecast that what would happen if you privatised health, education, power. And so it has come to pass. 30 years later and here we are, very few levers to pull for elected governments. Unprecedented wealth concentration across the English-speaking world. Interestingly, I see Jay Weatherall's government in South Australia now trying to re-regulate the power industry due to public pressure over the failures of a privatised system. It's not a green system, it's a privatised system that has led to massive failures. And so to the actual reason I've been asked to speak tonight, and that was, I was very privileged to attend the Next Gen conference as an organiser, 1,100 union workers and delegates, which was a massive organising challenge in itself, and it was really stimulating, and we got to workshop some of the real and very practical aspects of changing the rules. So I'll just go through some of the speakers, not all of them because I don't want to bore you to death, but the ones that stood out for me: Richard Dennis, Chief Economist at the Australia Institute, Hassan Youssef, Canadian Labor Congress, Dawn Modkins from the Black Lives Matter organiser, Dan Schladman from Walmart Respect Campaign, Paddy Crumlin, many of you know, International Transport Federation now, ex-MUA, Kim Keller, Teamsters Union, academic Hari Hahn, and of course Sally McManus, Saint Sally. She's doing such a great job. So